Yeah, and we see this Ursa picked up in this position. In fact, we saw it picked up earlier today. Sammy Boy playing it, especially versus the Mars. It is something that really Vitaly is going to have to deal with. It's a very annoying lane, even though you can push back that Ursa off of you. You do need your forward position to really be adept at also saving you. Otherwise, we've seen the Mars get punished. We've seen him get pushed back. And I think for really Hokori, Vitaly needs to be that playmaking hero. He needs to be able to get his level 6 in a decent fashion. But of course, we have also seen Lumiere put the team on his back without Medusa, where it feels like for the first 25 minutes of the game, it doesn't matter what Hokori are doing as long as he's able to get his space and he's able to get his farm. So I think that's where EgoBoys really need to turn up the heat, need to stop Lumiere from really getting away with murder. He's been getting so much space in pretty much all of the games he's played. Even the games they lose, it feels like Lumiere is always gunning for that top net worth spot. So I really like what EgoBoys are doing here, especially if we're going to see Alone on that Snapfire. That's just mode, activity, activity, activity. Try to get aggressive, try to get on Hokori's side of the map.
Yeah, the ability to try and play up tempo here against the Medusa is going to be absolutely big for EgoBoys. They really can't allow Lumiere to get that big because we've seen what happens when they sort of give him that much time. So EgoBoys looking to push the pace. Meanwhile for Hokori, well, fourth pick coming out here. Not really sure if they want to sort of reveal their mid laner right now. They could simply take that second support and sort of maintain a certain degree of mystery. Of course, you do run the risk at that point of allowing your opponents to take a couple of extra bans. So Hokori will go in for the Wind Ranger, although at this point, not 100% sure where that Wind is going to end up. They could lane it both mid and in that sort of position for a role for El Misho. So they do have some options available to them as we move into Phase 3.
And it's just incredibly flexible. It matches up well versus the Ursa. Mid, it matches up pretty well versus the Snapfire, where if you ever skill up the value point in Little Shredder, it just doesn't matter. If it's mid, we usually don't see that point. So to that degree, Alone might just want to go Snapfire still, farm it up, do whatever you can. And really, with King Tekka on that Sand King, he's the one hero that can maybe make this Windrunner feel a little bit vulnerable. We've seen the Sand King versus those vulnerable heroes, namely just the Morphling, where you get a little bit too ahead of yourself, you get punished, you get pushed into those side lanes for the sort of split push play, and then the epicenter is definitely enough damage to kill the Wind. And this time around, Hokori, while they do have the Treant Protector, they don't have that El Misho SD just yet. So while they can still pick it, EgoBoys are making the call that they need something else, that maybe this is going to be a +4 Wind. They took out the Viper. They want to feel out the lanes a little bit. And Hokori, it really is hard to say because we have seen the regions really sort of split it up, where some teams only value the Wind as that Viper counter, as that mid laner, and then we have four Zoomers that will pretty reliably first phase that Wind and then play it for and then do whatever, and they don't really care too much. So I'm interested to see where this Wind does actually end up laning, even though Analog put on a show for us earlier when he was able to take it mid.
Yeah, and that is something that Hokori really do sort of revel in a little bit here. They know they could take that Wind Ranger in one of two directions, and really regardless of whether it's at the 2 or the 4, it's still going to have a bit of an impact for them. So that flexibility, absolutely pivotal for them here. But personally, based on what we've seen Analog do with the hero before, I would like to see him in that slot again. But we are going to be finding out here in just, hopefully, a few moments. Hokori are in for their final pick. No, I don't know. EgoBoys were sort of banning out the Viper and the Broodmother, so they were sort of looking at it more as an offlane pick here for Hokori, which we'll have to wait and see, as the Shadow Demon will be the call. So this is looking quite a bit like what they ran previously, and that last lineup looked pretty good for them.
Yeah, and I mean, shockingly similar lineup. Really, the big change out is that Gardic is on that tree instead of the Undying. I almost like the tree more than the Undying, so it really feels like they are just kind of running it back, having the Lumiere Medusa instead of the Luna as well. But fundamentally, everything on Hokori is pretty much the same as that draft, where Vitaly's on an active hero. You've got that SD to save Lumiere, to save your analog from getting a little bit too ahead of himself. King Tech is going to end up on that Bat Rider, and we will have a mid Sand King. Okay. And we did see Alone on this mid Sand King before, specifically laning up versus another, I believe it was the Morphling mid. It was some other farming hero where you are sort of shut out of the lane, but you always have that small camp to rely on. And I think, again, you need to get active on Alone. And I wish that we would be able to see him on his Morphling, on his win, because they really are just some of the best. Individually, it's hard to not talk about Alone when you're talking about that mid skill. But this tournament specifically, it feels like something's been off. It feels like EgoBoys have been losing lanes, have been losing games where they've been ahead in that first maybe 15, 20 minutes, and something just sort of breaks apart their team. So hopefully, after a day of rest, they're going to be able to pull out something versus Hokori. And again, Hokori, they need to win. They need to separate themselves if they want any chance at that upper bracket.
Right. They are the team facing really all of the pressure here. EgoBoys have little in the way of stakes. Personal pride, yes. The chance to drag down a regional rival, absolutely. But in terms of their own personal gain, a lot less here for them to have to worry about. So that could sort of free them up to maybe play a little bit more loosely, a little bit more maybe aggressively as well, which is something we mentioned that they're going to have to emphasize trying to go up against this Medusa. So we'll see how well this one works out. We'll see just how well Alone plays. You mentioned he is one of the more sort of talented players in that South American region in the middle lane, very skilled mechanically, and to this point in the game, as you were also to this point in the event, rather, as you were mentioning, he's been sort of held in check, I guess would be the phrase for it. They haven't really been able to fully take advantage of his skill set, and I don't know. Some of that has come down to the hero choices. There have been a few too many mid-Vipers for Alone, for my liking, or for EgoBoys' liking as well, based on their record, but maybe the Sand King is someone who sort of hits that happy medium for you. He's not going to be an all-in hero, but he's someone who might be a little bit more mobile and could be a little bit more aggressive for them in the early stages.
And it feels like with Alone, you don't need him to draw the lane. You don't need him to sort of rely on his hero to carry him forward. He definitely can work people. We've seen him work people. But just something about these past few days has been off for EgoBoys. We've seen them GG out maybe a little bit sooner than some other teams. We've seen them sort of throw away their chances. So hopefully now they've got Rises on a comfort hero. They've got him on his Ursa. That was a big issue that they were having earlier on in the tournament, just having the bans be a little bit too focused on that player, and then the rest of the team not really able to find the space to sort of carry him when he was on those off heroes. So hopefully now this is going to be sort of a revival for EgoBoys. And if anything, it's good practice versus Hokori, because you are going to be facing them in that upper division of SADPC Season 3. So opponents that you are going to definitely remember this matchup against.
Yeah, very much familiarity with those squads heading into the next season, and even from some recent events here, both on the pro circuit and off of it over the past couple of months. So these two teams going to be seeing quite a lot of each other, and already have seen quite a lot of each other. So we'll see how they play this one up. This is a rather sizable grouping for EgoBoys. They've got 3 heroes up in this lane, and Alone was sort of shifting over there as well, but it looks like the Sand King doesn't actually want to be involved in that. He is going to sort of shift himself back, as Tano will simply wait for the boundary rune to spawn. Gardic is going to sort of wander his way over, but once he sees that the Tusk is there, that's not a safe play for him. But Rises actually tried to do kind of a similar thing on the other side of the map. He is going to get hit up, though, by the Rebuke, but he simply uses the Urshock to get into the river, and he'll take maybe 1 or 2 more right clicks, but he should be just fine.
Yeah, and I think, what, 50-50 split? Yeah, nothing they could do in just very basic stuff. Again, we have these SA wards placed where you're going to be able to see El Misho maybe make the rotation mid, but otherwise, it really shouldn't be too much. This should just be sort of the farming lineup.
They're still holding with a bit of a... No, they're not. Okay. Bit of a tri-lane there. Kara doesn't see the immediate opportunity, though, so he will back off. But we do see that every once in a while. It's been maybe not quite as popular now as it used to be earlier on in the patch, but always got to be on the lookout, just in case. If somebody steps too far forward, maybe you can get that sort of early kill onto him, but at that point, you basically would have needed the Bat Rider to scale something other than Napalm, and that's not the way he likes to play it, not the way any Bat Rider really likes to play it. So they simply send Kara down to the bottom lane, and they will get down to sort of standard practice here. Tano and King Tekka not really going to be able to do a whole lot in this lane until they start getting those levels, but at that point, that's where things are going to get a little bit dangerous. We've seen before with that Medusa, even if you sort of pop on that mana shield, the Firefly, if you have those multiple stacks on you, is just going to tear through your overall sort of HP pool. So Lumiere will have to be very careful, but we see him already getting the full wand completed. So he's just going to sit back here, build up those charges, and he'll let Gardic sort of handle the actual heavy lifting. Although Gardic, he's in some trouble. There's going to be that Firefly into the tag team, and I'm not sure the Treant makes it out here. Can King Tekka get the last little bit of damage in onto him? No, the tower shots are actually going to turn him back. The snake was thrown out as well there by Lumiere, and King Tekka's at least going to be able to fall back, but he doesn't quite get that first sort of surprise play that he wanted.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Tano, he gave sort of the little level up to the Bat Rider. He was able to get that Firefly just a little bit sooner. And actually, Rice's bottom, him and Almisho.
Boy, they're going in.
He's got an 11 stick. He has to turn and get one more. Rise has got to dodge this out.
There it is. He got it. It's
just barely surviving, but so much damage.
Kara? He thought Rise was sort of facing the other direction. That, if the tower shots had actually been focusing on the Ursa, that could have been disastrous. But aggro's on the creeps instead. Everything's going to be fine. Everyone will simply back away and sort of chill for a little bit. But a lot of damage across the board here. Really, Kara, the only one who doesn't get immediately sort of beat up. So everyone will take a step back. They'll heal up. They'll refresh. And we'll see if there's any sort of secondary fight there. But now Vitaly, he actually doesn't have any regen. So he's got to be very careful. Rises could maybe get in onto him with the sort of cookie play and the earth shock. And Vitaly gets hit up. I don't know. If he hits the spear, maybe he's safe. But if he misses it, he could very easily go down. So
there's the bottle, though.
Okay.
So out of the danger zone, he's going to be just fine.
Healing himself up. Oh, okay, hold on. Rises wants in again. Scatterblast will be there, but yeah, there's that spear. Even hit him up with the disruption as well. So Almisho not even going to be taking any chances. Doesn't want his teammates sort of running into that one. So yeah, they're not going to be able to find it, but Rises and Kara, they're showing that sort of willingness to try and push forward here. See what they can get, burn through the regen, and maybe try and slow Vitaly down. Oh god, down a little bit as they do jump in. Earthshock into Cookie, gets them into position. The spear is going to push Rises back, but he's still in trouble here. Kara hits him up with the Scatterblast, and how does he get out of this tree line? He's going to try and dance. Almisho comes in with the disruption, but Rises is in there. He still gets the kill up in the top lane, as you said. Yeah, Gardic will be taken down by King Tekka, but Lumiere with the long-range snake does connect in onto the bat and will turn in that. Will turn that into a 1-for-1.
And top, it was really peculiar. Both Lumiere and Gardic both had 10 stacks of napalm on them. They just stuck around a little bit too far. Both of those heroes not very mobile, so easy punish. And hopefully King Tekka will be able to sort of snowball the lane, but only got enough gold from that to buy out his bottle. Meanwhile, Lumiere is just farming up, having a good time.
18 last hits for the Medusa. Pulled the wave back in between the towers, so I don't really think there's anything Tano can do here. He's still kind of making his way over, just in case, but this really isn't worth pushing in for him. As you said, the Medusa's just going to have a happy time farming up. Not really a whole lot of pressure that can be applied at the moment. Meanwhile, what exactly is going down here mid? Alone, holding his own for the most part, even with Analog in terms of that last hit count. Multiple points up here in the Sandstorm, too, so that is going to help him take these creeps as he pushes his way over. There's a stacked camp here for him. Analog, he sort of suspected what was going down. He's just not able to actually get there in time. So the Sand King will find that extra farm, but this is always an interesting one. Sand King's just sort of going to push into the side every once in a while, but Analog is starting to get more and more, I don't know if aggressive is the right term, but more and more sort of into his face as Rise is, speaking of in your face, going to get himself taken down in the bottom lane. Vitaly and Almisho jump in onto him, and Kara did not really have enough to save his teammate. Didn't have the mana for the cookie there.
Ooh, and he's trying to get the salve deny on Vitaly, but he just barely out of range. And Kara, the cookies have been a little bit off the mark. He definitely needs to be cautious. And he needs to get in position on this tree. He doesn't have mana, actually.
Yeah, that rebuke takes him out of range, but they're still going for this. And Kara may still die. No, Rises is here to back his teammate up. Scatterblast comes in, and Vitaly's actually one who's gone too far. One more hit will do it, and Rises he gets back in there at the perfect time. Kara, extremely confident that his teammate was going to arrive in time to help him, so he sort of baits that one in. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, KingTeka and Tano, this is a bit of a busted play for them. They're trying to get in there looking for some sort of kill, but between Lumiere and Gardic, they're just not really going to be able to find all that much, and now they've just got to sort of back away. KingTeka's just straight up going to TP onto the tower.
Yeah, in 20 stick on the Medusa, there's just no shot for you to kill her. You need a few more levels on each of your heroes, and even though you have that second point in sticky napalm, there's just simply not enough damage. And okay, Tano did shards off a courier. Gonna get another one as well.
Huh. Double courier snipe, TP's away. Gardic, good instinct, wrong location, as he's gonna miss on that one. Meanwhile, I believe Kara denied to the tower. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just suicided.
So, technically, it'll count as a kill. Realistically, Hokori don't really get a lot for that. So, Kara just going to die. TP's back into lane. Going to deliver out some items for Rises. And, well, the Ursa, honestly, he's doing okay in this lane. Last hit-wise, you might take a look at him, and he is a little ways behind some of the other cores, but I don't think it's really going to be too big of a setback for him right now. And at a certain point, Rises is simply going to be able to sort of rotate into the jungle anyway once this laning stage comes to an end. So, they haven't really done too much to shut him down, but oh, they're going to go for this as Vitali pushed in with a rebuke, but he's going to get stunned up by the cookie before he can actually throw the spear out. But now that spear will be deployed, and Analog's actually TPing in as well. Power shot will come through, and Rises in some trouble. Shackle, well, it doesn't latch, but they don't need it to. It just locks it down long enough for Elmisho to get in there for the damage. Rises goes down, and Analog is able to find that secondary kill onto Kara.
And we see him do this time and time again on the wind, always able to make those fast rotations. It feels like this wind can just be anywhere at any time, and we'll have the Javelin by the time he does have that next focus fire cooldown. And Alone actually made the rotation top to do something about this triple medium camp stack, but he's given away sort of the Batrider's lane as the Tusk was also rotating over, so this feels a little bit bad. He was able to farm it up, but he's working towards his Blink Daggers still. And oh, Lumiere.
And KingTeka ended up getting taken down in that top lane. Couple of tips going his way afterwards as well. So Elmisho able to combine forces with Lumiere for that one. But we did see a pause coming out, and yeah, Lumiere is going to be DCing. So they've got to get him back into the server here. But at this point, connection issues aside, this is a fantastic start for that Medusa. He's got a kill and an assist to his name. 53 last hits on the board and almost no pressure. In fact, the only time we've seen attempts from EgoBoys' side, like that last one, it results in KingTeka being taken down. So not only a lack of pressure, but actually negative pressure is, I don't know if that's probably not a term, but anytime they try to go into the Medusa, they end up giving her even more than they would have if she just had been left alone.
Yeah, precisely, and it really isn't anyone's fault. The Tusk just inherently wants to make plays on the map. Tano wants to weave his Batrider, get a little bit of that soul XP, and once KingTeka does hit level 6, we might see some rotations, but the big problem with Batrider versus Medusa is it gets to a point where the Batrider can't come back to lane. He's not going to have enough damage to take down the Snake. We'll see if Lumiere gets any more points up in the Snake. He might just go for that split shot. He's got a Yasha queued up, so we'll see if he goes for the Sanjin Yasha Crystal as the build he favors so heavily, but hopefully we'll see some Manta Ag, something a little bit more normal. But at the same time, Rises made the rotation up here after dying bottom. He wanted to get out of that lane, didn't want to have to play versus that Mars Arena when he wasn't level 6 himself. And this Ursa is just incredibly displaced, and they're sort of pinging him out now. And Analog, they see his rotation here, but really, I don't know what this Ursa's doing here. It feels pretty strange.
Yeah, I mean, Alone previously had been sort of farming up in this camp we see over here, and he was able to clear that out, but then he burrows away and then TPs himself home. So Rises is just kind of stuck in no man's land, and I'm not sure he actually gets out of this one. There's no TP available for him. It's on 65-second cooldown. Elmisho could just lock him down with the disruption, and then you get Gardic and Analog in here for the follow-up. So not 100% sure if they have the damage at that point. The focus fire is not going to be available, but Rises is going to have to sort of make a break for it at this point. This is not a situation where Hokori will just simply leave him alone. So he's going to have to start planning out his sort of exit route here. He does have an Earthshock, so maybe if he's lucky, the disruption, once it ends, he could try and maybe Earthshock into the river and just hope that the Shackle doesn't connect onto anything. And I think that's the best bet for him to get himself away. But the fact of the matter is, as you said, he really shouldn't be here in the first place. We shouldn't really have to talk about his escape route, because you should not be in the middle of this north side jungle with no apparent reason for being in this position.
Yeah, and the only reason he really is there is because of that slight level deficit he gained because of Analog's rotation. So it really just feels like whenever Analog gets this win, really every aspect of the game sort of revolves around what he's able or what he's unable to make happen. And it does feel a little bit like, what do you do now if your rises? Because you don't really have a lane to go back to. Sometimes when we do see, and we might see from alone, once he gets this blink dagger, he'll sort of inhabit that dead lane, or he might try to make a play somewhere else. But we see the mid laner sort of move out, and then the safe laner decides to take it over.
Easy breezy.
But that's not what we're seeing.
You
We're
weren't
seeing
so
Tano
damn
instead
dead, I'd
stay
shoot
there,
you
get the
again.
XP.
You weren't so
And
damn
I
dead, I'd
don't
shoot
think
you
Tano's
again.
really been able to get very much done with sort of the failings top. They were able to get first blood, 5 or 6 minutes ago, but King Tekka's lane, aside from that, really hasn't been going in his favor. And he's not even going for the Boots of Travel build. He's got a drum queued up, and that is not really a fantastic sign for your Bat Rider.
Yeah, if he's got to sort of hobble together some close enough kind of items, then something's gone a little bit wrong here. And you take a look at his net worth right now in this sort of chart, he's pretty far down there. He's only a couple hundred behind Vitaly, I suppose, but you take a look at his net worth compared to where El Misho's at, and it is a little bit concerning for him. And I think in the near future, the only thing that he's going to have going for him is maybe hitting that lasso when he hits level 6, but who do you then go on? Who exactly do you make the jump in onto? If he can catch out maybe some of these supports, then that might give him a little bit of confidence, just picking up sort of quick and easy kills. But if he's going to try and go in onto a core hero, I don't really know if he'll have the damage to make that happen. So it's going to have to be sort of small scale stuff for the Bat Rider, which sort of mirrors what his item build is looking like at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, though, still no sign. There it is. Still no sign of Lumiere is what I was going to say, but as I said, he's back in, and they're immediately ready to go. Wow. Okay. So we'll see how Rises gets out. El Misho hits him up with the disruption. Can they get the shackle? No, they go for the power shot first instead. Now they'll try the shackle shot if they can get the angle, but they don't have it, and Tano is in there with the shards. So Rises is going to be able to get himself away. It's a bit of a close call, but he will make his way out of that north side jungle.
Still, you force everyone to come while your Ursa isn't farming. So it feels quite bad, but now alone, we'll see if he tries to hide out the fact that he does have this Blink Dagger now on the Sand King, or if there might be that punishment play where he doesn't have the epicenter just yet. He needs one more skill point, then he might be able to make that play onto Analog, get that vulnerable hero, kill off the wind, get the sort of aggression off of the map, as we still see sort of Rises struggling to find a home. As Lumiere, he does the rotation. He comes mid, takes it over, and is going to make his way into that triangle now, and is just going to start farming up on the Dusa.
Yeah, it is really standard stuff, and we do see Lumiere actually going for that Banta. So we were sort of wondering that earlier on. We've seen that sort of S and Y into the damage build for him previously, but not going to be the call this time around. He will just go for the Manta style, something far more conventional at this point. But regardless of which item build he was really working towards, this Medusa has been getting off to a pretty fantastic start, and Hokori, in the interest of maybe creating more space,
in bottom,
yeah, they're going to move in. Vitaly actually not even waiting for his teammates, and he didn't need to. Sets it up. Analog comes in with the longest range power shot possible, and we'll be able to find that kill. Now they're going to try and get damage onto the tower as well, but King Tekka and Alone are in here. They're going to go for it. They go in for the lasso into the epicenter.
Nice.
Can they get that
Alone.
Wind Ranger? And not just yet. Analog still alive, trying to fall back. Tano, though, wants to track him down. The snowball, he's going to get him into the fight, and Analog may be taken down, but he's got the wind run up. He's just going to fall back. Tano, I don't know if the tag team would have been enough, but it's absolutely not enough without it. So Analog will fall back. El Misho gets taken down there, but that's pretty much going to be a one-for-one trade. Considering Hokori were able to find the pickoff first with that power shot play.
And take a look at this stack. That is a huge ancient stack for Lumiere to take. I don't know if he's going to be able to take it fast enough right now, but it looks like he's going to start to finally try it. And man, they always get so many stacks for him. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, now we know, I mean, why Lumiere likes to play some of these hyper carry heroes. He knows his teammates are actually going to set up for him. So if you can secure this much farm for yourself, why wouldn't you want to play heroes like the Medusa?
And King Tekka
Meanwhile,
alone.
Yeah. Oh boy, oh boy. King Tekka, no health, no mana, quickly taken down, and Analog is there again. I mean, anytime you're looking for a high-impact play, a big kill, some sort of pick play to go Hokori's way, you're looking at Analog. He is just constantly able to make this happen. He gets the power shot down onto Alone there as well, so the SK may want to be a little bit careful. There's no detection in the area, but you know, with El Misho in there and holding onto a dust, that could have quickly changed. So much better play for Alone to simply back himself away. Don't even want to take the chances right now, as he's just going to try and fall back and farm up.
And the Medusa continues to accelerate. And Alone, while he is in sort of a lull, we'll see if he decides to go for those Boots of Travel. We could see an early Ags. We could even see the Veil. We don't really know what the Sand King is going for just yet, but I would really love if Tano is able to do something with his level 6. He's been getting a lot of levels compared to his teammates. Same with Kara. You have these kisses. You want to try and make a play on someone. Unfortunately, the easiest play to make that on is Vitaly, and it feels like as of right now, there's no hero that wants to go to that Mars's lane except for King Tekka, just because you do have that Firefly, and if you get it off before the arena comes down, you do just fly over the walls, so it's not the biggest issue. But now, looks like this bottom tower is going to just be forfeit for Hokori, even though there are smoke tiers coming here.
Yeah, they are making a play for it. Alone.
Ooh, Analog. It's just he's a little too smart. They know it, and when they see Tano, they know something's up. They don't know exactly what it is, but... Ooh.
Alright, they're in onto El Misho at least, so that is going to get them one kill. The Shadow Demon will be taken away. He's going to disrupt himself, but he should still be dying. You know, Vitaly, yeah, going to get jumped in on. The Snowball will lock him in place, and that is a couple of big ones. El Misho and Vitaly both taken down. They don't get Analog, unfortunately, but all things considered, I think that's probably the best you were going to be able to get there. So they can't save the tower, but they will get 2 kills in exchange, and that is going to be a nice bit of gold going into their hands. But now Analog slips away, and he's going to look for some revenge.
Yeah, and with the Invis rune, ooh, Kara. Ooh, he's going to give up the fact that they know where he is, but there's no lasso. Yeah, and Analog's just going to slink away.
Well, at least you break up that Invis play, so Analog wasn't quite able to sort of get in onto Rises in the way that Hokori may have been attempting to, but you're also not going to be able to lock the Wind Ranger down. So Analog falls back. He's going to continue farming up here. I believe his Maelstrom is now complete. Where is that courier? There you are. Nope, that is a TP scroll coming out to him. So, he's just locking the Javelin right now, and he's actually queued up a BKB, so it's actually a little bit strange. Not entirely sure what's going on there. He's just going to hold on to a casual Javelin for the time being.
Yeah, and it's just matching the pace of the enemy team. He doesn't want to have it accidentally combined from the Mithril Hammer. He wants the Ogre Axe first, and he just wants to not have to worry about the Snapfire or the Sand King. He knows that's the only way that EgoBoys kill him, and ooh, he has to be careful.
There it is.
They don't have Epi, but...
Can actually do this. The Wind Run is out, and Analog should be able to get back, or maybe not. He's going to get...
Ooh,
pushed back by the Flame Break, and that Shackle will save him, but Alone is still going. Burrow Strike gets him in. They need one more hit, and they will be able to get it, but now El Misho's in. Purge will be dropped. Alone is in trouble. Gardex TPing forward as well, and Sand King will be taken down. So it is going to cost him his own life, but that is a big kill onto Analog. They need to be able to continuously put that pressure in onto the Wind Ranger. They just need to not necessarily have to sacrifice Alone to do it next time.
It is slightly unfortunate, and it's really the raindrop causing them to have to go a little bit deeper. Unfortunately, you didn't lose the Bat Rider, who did end up going for those Boots of Travel, sort of Lauren the Wiser. I don't really think I haven't seen Dramas in a very long time. I'm very glad he did not buy that item. But still, you have to be worried every single time you give up a death on the Sand King. It just telegraphs to Hokori that, hey, Lumiere, you can do whatever you want for the next 20, 30 seconds. There's no play on the map that can be made that will make you stop farming. And now, having his Lance finished, he is just farming up. He's playing Medusa. And Rises, while he is working towards that Diffusal Blade, you're never going to see the same amount of farm on these two heroes. The Medusa is always going to be ahead. And they're making a play with Vitaly's Blink. Well, they see him
They want in.
on the
They
low
see
ground.
King Tekka. They're going to hit him up. The spear, that doesn't stun, but they won't need it to. King Tekka very, very clearly going to die there. And that's going to be some more stacks that Hokori will now be able to take away. So I mean, the
Was
stacking is
Kara gonna
there.
blast it?
He
Oh.
could try. That would give away his
Nope,
position,
all
though.
gone.
Yeah, he's not willing to take the risk. So Hokori will take the entirety of that stack in the west side jungle, and meanwhile, Lumiere pushing his way mid. Tier 1 tower taken down, so Hokori just keep on pressing forward. It's just, we are ahead, let's get more ahead. And now...
they got the disruption onto Kara, but is able to walk away.
But I don't know. That's one of the things about Hokori that I think has been the most interesting in this event. On the one hand, they're so sometimes just chaotic. It's all about just sort of forcing your opponents to sort of panic to a certain extent. As oh, speaking of panicking, yeah, Tano gonna get jumped in on. He is gonna get saved momentarily by that cookie play, but he should still go down. But Alone,
nice,
he's in there
Alone.
with the epicenter. It's a nice bit of damage. Gardic taken down already. Vitali will fall as well. Tano is eventually finished off, but at that point, if you're EgoBoys, you got the trade that you wanted. Alone picks up the double, and that is a pretty spectacular fight for them, all things considered. 2-for-1 trade, and your Sand King gets both of those kills. So he is going to take a nice step forward, moving up to second place in net worth, and that is going to get him about halfway to the Aghanim Scepter.
And once he gets that Aghanims, that's when we were really going to start seeing heroes pop. Up until that point, there's not really much he can do. There is a completed defusal on the Ursa, so they do need to be a little bit careful, but as soon as they really make any attempt at that tower, they get the disruption illusions just to prod it a little bit more. We just see Lumiere TP bottom to the place, his home, the triangle. He just continues to farm up at an incredible rate.
Yeah, we see the Eye of Scotty being worked on for him, and he's already a pretty decent, decent portion of the way there with that first ulti orb. So the progress just continues to be impressive for him, and the lack of pressure from EgoBoys is more and more problematic as this goes on. But maybe they're not getting pressure onto Medusa, but we know EgoBoys are capable of making some plays here. As we saw, Alone was able to sort of jump in mid as he leaves the Dragon Scale behind. We'll double back for it, but as you sort of mentioned, when we see heroes pop is when this Aghanim Scepter sort of comes into play for him. So Alone is going to enjoy a bit of a power spike, and the Ursa is presumably going to start getting himself a little bit more involved here as well with the diffuser complete. Not sure what he looks for next, if it's something like the BKB or the Blink. Okay, BKB queued up for him, so looking for just the durability and the ability to push into that fight without having to worry about the numerous sort of forms of lockdown that Hokori have. So well, if he gets that Aghanim Scepter on the Sand King, if the Ursa gets the BKB, then that's going to be a pretty big fight for them as Alone. Oh, this makes me nervous. I don't like that. Faking it out multiple times. All it takes is one sort of slip up and you end up looking a little bit foolish, but he'll be fine.
Yeah, and the unfortunate fact of the game is that if Rises doesn't have this BKB, they can't ever go to the pit, so he needs it to be able to have that aspect of his hero available to him. They might think about poking, prodding it. He does not actually have those Fury Swipes reset timer, even though I'm not sure if they are affected by Roche, but they're actually going to go in here, and this is where this fight could go incredibly sour for them. If Hokori get any wind of this, especially with the power shot, they have to be very, very cautious on the EgoBoys side.
They're pinging it out. Gardic's going to check a little bit there with the Nature's Grasp, and he's got Overgrowth. So EgoBoys at this point, they need to leave, but they're not going to do it in time, and now the Ursa is in some trouble. He did pop the Enrage, though, so he's not dead just yet, but Lumiere pushing in with that Stone Gaze to lock him down. Rises is dead, but that's a nice Burrow Strike into the Mortimer Kisses, so Kara's going to be able to pick up the double, and EgoBoys, they want to keep this fight going. Rises is actually going to buy back, but they're taking a lot of damage here. Lumiere is going to be able to take down King Tekka, and now Analog is buying back.
Oh,
King Tekka
boy.
buying back. Oh my god, every buyback is going to be used here. We're just going again. Round 2 is ready. And Rises, can he get it? He's trying for it. He's so close to it, but Lumiere's going to come in. He grabs it.
Cookie. Oh no, Vitali, so good.
Clutch play from Vitali in there. They're going to be able to take the Aegis. The cookie is just a little bit mistimed. Kara, I don't know. I mean, it's at a little certain point you're trying to do too much there. Rises really just needs to grab it and get out, but he's pushed around a little bit. The cookie play can't get him back into position like he would need to be, and Hokori take it. I mean, that is a lot of buybacks expended now, considering you didn't actually get the Aegis that you wanted in the first place.
Basically 1 for 1, and while you do have to use buyback on that wind, who cares? You are going to have that BKB. You already aren't going for the sort of farming build. You're letting Lumiere, who is at a breakneck speed, already has the Scotty, now has an Aegis. It feels like Hokori were slowly, or not even slowly, but very quickly barreling towards that Medusa late game where you just don't care.
Rises has been caught. He's hit up by the spear. The Purge comes in. Even the Soul Catcher deployed. He's gone. There's nothing that they could do about that one. Rises... It feels like you should know better at that point. Obviously, they don't have the full vision, but he's alone in the west side jungle after Hokori had just taken Roshan a few moments ago, so feels like he probably should have seen that one coming, or at least seen some sort of maneuver coming, but he wanted to try and catch back up, was looking for those last hits in the west side, and yeah, they're just going to keep going. No reason for them to stop. Lumiere is massive. I mean, what can EgoBoys do here? Ursa does not have a buyback. He just used it in the Roche Pit fight, and I don't know, maybe some sort of miracle lasso play could pull this in, but then you're dealing with the Aegis on the Medusa as well.
And you get the vision coming in from the Shadow Poison. You don't... Well, you do have a Blink Dagger actually on King Tekka, but unless you get onto El Misho, you're just going to get saved. And this tier 3, it only has 1,000 more HP. You still have Glyph. You haven't committed it yet, but
alone. He burned a lot of that ult, though, not doing damage. El Misho is probably still going to die, but now Vitali's in there with the spear into the arena. Alone will be taken down. Tano is just going to straight up die here as well, although, okay, he's out for now, but Gardic comes in with that overgrowth. They've locked him down. Tano will fall. Gardic, though, dropping in exchange as Rises is trying to push forward, but he is so low on HP, he has to back off. The Enrage is going to get him away, but I guess, technically speaking, mission accomplished if you're EgoBoys. You push them off of your tower, but the cost is pretty high and the fight's not done. Oh, that's a huge play from Vitali. Big in there with the spear pushback, and Lumiere just sort of stands his ground and continues to dish out the damage. Now they're back in, so mission unaccomplished. They do not push their opponents out of their base. Karo will be taken down, immediately going to commit the buyback, but at this point, that is the final buyback that they have in Vitali. Come on, man, that's just not fair. Pushing in again, getting the spear stun. Lumiere grabs the Ultra. Can he get the Rampage? Needs a little bit more damage. Oof. Oh, Vitali takes it away. No Rampage for Lumiere, but that is still going to be a clear-cut win. Alone. All right. More power to him. TP's in, goes for the Blink Burrow, and will take Vitali down, but they still haven't dealt with Lumiere on this Medusa. And at this point, even if you get onto him, he's still holding the Aegis, so you just sort of bring him back up with full HP and mana, and you effectively just make him angrier.
And you're already out of buys. Oh, if that lasso latched. But yeah, he doesn't really need to be scared of anything until that Ursa has respawned. And we might see him back off now. At least I would back off now. Okay, he's just walking out. He's still sticking around as his team. I mean, they're all here. Now you have El Misho back, and man, Alone needs to be so careful.
He's playing with fire here, really, yeah. One play goes awry for him, and
goodbye.
He's gone. Purge should do the trick. And gone. So, El Misho able to get that kill from long range. Lumiere, meanwhile, finishing off the racks, and Vitali actually is going to rejoin his teammates here with a BKB in hand. It's a long walk from that middle lane, but he is coming up to reinforce this one. So, Hokori did lose a couple of heroes there, but by this point, everyone is back in, and they're really ready to go as King Tekka. He blinked out there. He was looking for the lasso, but didn't actually get it off. So, maybe an opportunity, but he's not actually going to fully commit for it. And now, I'm not really sure what is left in the tank for EgoBoys. They're going to have to give it a go, and the Ursa's back up, so maybe they can take the fight now, but this Ursa still doesn't have his BKB.
And really, Hokori, they want to hit this timing as much as they can. This is when they don't have Glyph on EgoBoys. There's no split push play. They're just not strong enough. And you see Alone, he's just sitting in the base. He's going to pop a smoke on himself, try to get onto the backline. He needs to find the SD again, but there's still just the snake. Aegis is going to expire in 7 seconds, so Lumiere might look for the soft reset. We'll see if it gets disabled.
Trying to get him back, but there's going to be the lasso. Hold on. Can they time this out perfectly? Not quite. The Aegis does expire, so a little bit of that region will come into play. Not all of it, though. Now Alone. He's in there with the Burrow Strike into the epicenter. It's a lot of damage. Lumiere and Gardic both taken down. Vitali now hit up by the Walrus Punch as well, but Analog, look at the man go, just pushing his way forward. But now that he's sort of too deep in, he is going to, or he was looking to TP out. He cancels it, though, or gets it canceled on him. Either way, Analog will be taken down. Rises grabs a double. Vitali's now in some trouble. Trapped up inside of the shard. Snowball is going to be targeting him up as they are going to try and get onto him, but they're not going to be able to catch up. So instead, they'll focus on El Misho. They catch the Shadow Demon hanging out here further to the east, and they should be able to finish him off as they will get 4 kills, and they have effectively saved their own skins. They're not out of the woods just yet, still down pretty massively, but that is, for now, a game-saving play as Vitaly, okay, he's going to be able to get one back as Tano goes too far forward, but that's absolutely huge for EgoBoys. They desperately needed that play.
Yeah, and they make it perfectly timed onto the Aegis. They get the punishment, and really, I'm surprised Hokori, maybe they don't have the timer. Maybe that was just an actual misplay coming in from them as they were completely confident up until that point. You saw him sort of backing off a little bit too late, almost as if the timer itself was maybe 10 or 15 seconds off in his head. So 100% get punished for it, and while you still are in a very dominant position, now maybe you get that BKB on the Ursa. Maybe you're able to finish this F-Blade on the Sand King, and that does make that high ground push that little more difficult. And again, the Glyph is going to be able to reset. So I wonder if we're going to see Hokori run it back or take a little bit more of a measured response, wait for a few more items on Lumiere, as he is going to get them incredibly quickly. But I feel like if you're Hokori, you also just want to get out of this game. You feel like you're going to win no matter what.
Right, they just want to sort of get it over with, not give their opponents too much time. As Rises hit up by the Purge, hit up by the Soul Catcher, hit up by the Overgrowth, and he's not going anywhere. Rise is taken down, he's dead for about 45, so this could be the opening for Hokori to push back in, but if they want to go through the bottom lane, they do need to get this tier 2 tower first, so that could slow down the push a little bit for them. As what is going on here? Vitaly in for another play. He's just been so active in this game so far. Analog able to push forward as well. With that follow-up stun in the Shackle, the Focus Fire comes through and Kara is dead. And again, as we were sort of mentioning before, EgoBoys, no buybacks here. There's one on alone, but neither of those two dead heroes have them, and here comes Hokori looking to push the high ground once again.
Yeah, and really, they do have Glyph. They might be able to force out these heroes slightly, but it feels like, again, without this Snapfire, that was sort of the key hero that they were missing before. That's why they didn't really defend too hard, but you have that dieback still playing against you. You have that timer, and it feels like without the Glyph, the mid tower is also very low, so they've got to get something. They've got to get a miracle play going. The issue is Lumiere's not giving it to you. Ooh. But King Tekka, there's the disruption, though.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to pull him all the way back as Lumiere will hold his ground. Vitaly's in there with the arena as well. King Tekka already dead. And now Rises, he's just going to get locked down. The Stone Gaze actually sort of locks him in place first, and now he's dead, and there's still no buyback. But Alone, in there with the Epi, he's going to be able to take down Almisho, but what else can they do here? Really not a lot. Tano's dead. Alone is just going to sit in the corner and think about what he's done, and, well, it's like the ending to Blair Witch. He just sits in the corner, and then it's over for no reason. So Hokori are going to be able to clear it out. Full 5-man wipe. That's a Blair Witch Project reference for you, by the way, if you're over the age of 30. As Hokori are going to be able to take the win. We can reference old movies because there's really not a whole lot to talk about here. Hokori just closed that one out, and that's the win that they needed. They're at least sort of going to be in position now to contend with D2 Hustlers. They needed this win. They go in with the Medusa. No nonsense game for them, and they walk away victorious.
Yeah, and can't say color me surprised because EgoBoys, again, they have not been hot. They've not been doing well. They've not been succeeding. And it's a little bit sad to see because it feels like Hokori, they played this matchup not even 25 minutes ago. And they swap out a few heroes here and there, but same general ideas. Vitaly had an outstanding performance, had that spirit play in the pit, continued to find these pickoffs, perfect itemization as well. And of course, you're just getting Blink BKB, but some people do go for that greediness. And Hokori just, again, just same lineup. It's just very by the books. Lumiere farms. Everybody has a very good performance. Analog ganks the lanes. Easy game.
Yeah. It worked out well for them in the match before. They just run it back with, as you said, not quite the same heroes, but similar enough strategy. And yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hokori able to notch back-to-back wins with that particular strat, while EgoBoys didn't quite get it done there. Once again, not really able to activate Alone in the way that they might have wanted. He does well. 8, 3, and 7 is not a bad stat line, but just doing well wasn't really going to be enough. They really needed him to just kind of carry them at a certain point. So, unable to get it done. EgoBoys drop the first match here of this best of 2, but we do have one more match to play. Game 2 is going to be coming up in a little bit here. We'll see if EgoBoys can close out their group stage run with a victory for the road, or if Hokori are going to be able to pull off sort of just 4 straight here and compete, for that upper bracket spot. So We'll be hopping into a bit of a break here, but when we return, it will be Hokori versus EgoBoys one last time to cap off the night.